Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. This is Brian Shopper from Geopath here. And just want to say thank you again for joining our out-of-home office hours for July. If you caught it last week, we did an agency panel with some really great guests. And if you didn't get a chance to catch that, I'd highly recommend going to check that out. That's on our website and on our Geek Out page of our website. And our YouTube page. But that was a great agency panel, just sort of addressing, COVID issues and moving forward beyond that. So again, if you haven't had a chance to see that, I would really recommend that. That was a great session last week. Joining me on the call today, they're going to be sort of in the background, keeping an eye on questions and everything like that. I've got AJ Chaffee and Scott Fiaschetti. So again, if you have any questions, as always, you can enter them in the Q&A widget in Zoom. That's kind of the best place to do it. So just a little bit of an overview for what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at some of the most recent updates and new features to the Insights Suite, and really just kind of focus on how we can take these and make some more in-depth insights and some more, just like it says here, derive some deeper audience insights from those things. And of course, answer any questions that come up along the way. And again, one more time, please feel free to just drop in questions anywhere throughout the time today. And we'll keep an eye on those, and we can, take pause breaks and address those. So today, a majority of the scenario that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be based around the, I guess, relatively new, sort of relatively speaking, the population mapping abilities. And so for those of you who might not have seen this before, this is just a little screenshot overview of what that looks like. I'm going to be spending a good amount of time, or a good amount of today's scenario sort of using that and basically trying to figure out a way that we can make some more in-depth maps and scenarios and a better understanding of audience and inventory using things like mapping out populations. So you can see here, sort of highlighted in red, this is part of the new feature here as well. When you're in the Explore module of the Insight Suite, there's sort of a floating purple button that if you click on, you can switch between 3 different libraries. And we'll talk about that today, but the population library is where we're going to be focusing and doing all of this kind of population mapping. And you can break this down, the sort of subcategories in here, you can break these down by either DMA, CBSA, or county, as you can see up here. And we'll show how to do all these sort of different breakdowns and everything like that. And a really important feature, I think this is really exciting to make mention of, every audience that we have in the Insight Suite that you can plan your audiences, or that you can plan your inventory against and things like that. Every one of those 8,000 plus audiences we can utilize and map out in the population library, just like we can in the inventory library, which is kind of the default view of the Explore module. And then just over here on the right-hand side, and we'll talk about this in just a second as well, but if you're familiar with the sort of main view of the Explore module, when you're looking through inventory and things like that, you have this sort of scrolling menu on the right-hand side full of whatever's currently in your filter. And we've sort of carried that over into this population mapping library here as well. And you'll see as we go through, the different geographies are the things that we can sort of evaluate against an audience. And that's just kind of a little bit of an overview. The scenario I've got planned that I want to go through it involves a few more things than just the population mapping, but I figured that would be a good place to put a lot of focus today, because I don't think as many people know either how to use it or even really that it's a feature that they can fully utilize like this. And there's some really great custom maps and really great things like that you can just kind of derive from this. So we're going to spend, like I said, a good amount of our time there. And I'm just going to switch over to my browser. So just one second. Okay, so we should be looking at my web browser right now, taking a look at the Insights Suite. So the first thing I'm going to do, before we sort of do anything for our actual scenario, I want to go and head over to the population library itself and just kind of do an overview from there. So when you're in the Insights Suite, if you're in the Explore module, which is right here on the left-hand menu, by default, now that we have this ability to switch between libraries, by default, it will be set to the inventory library. And if you've been in here before and you're familiar with the Explore module, you've been using the inventory library before. It just didn't have a name like this or a way to switch between. But so the inventory library is this sort of view of the Explore module that most people are familiar with and comfortable with. But if we click on that, you can see we can now switch between a few different libraries here. The Places library is actually just sort of a migration of what was the Places module. And that used to live sort of over on the left-hand bar here with these other module icons, but it's now part of the Explore module. So we can get to our points of interest search and places like using this right here. And then the population library, which is what I've been sort of alluding to this whole time, that's the option right there in the middle. And again, just if you just click on this, you can at any point switch between any of these libraries. Yeah, so just a little bit of an overview. This is set up very similarly to how the other sort of iterations of the Explore module are. We have these tabs across the top that function or that dictate a lot of our functions through here. And then, like I mentioned a couple seconds ago, we have this sort of scrolling menu here on the right-hand side that gives us up at the top, it gives us an overview of what we're looking at sort of for our metrics for all these geographies, and then how each of these geographies individually break down. By default, we're looking at the total population, person 0+. And just kind of as a note, anytime you see either total population or total impressions or total audience or anything like that, within the Insights suite and while using the Geopath Insights data, total is always representative of person 0+. So here, total population, person 0+, total impressions are from anyone person 0+. So just kind of a side note. Like I said, most of the functionality is sort of governed by these tabs up here. The Define Population tab has two things within it, very similar to Define Target in the other view of the Explore module. But let's start with the Assign Market. That's kind of very straightforward. So we've got our different markets that we can select, sort of all of the options that we have in the other view. But here you can see it's sort of set to DMA right now, but I can switch between DMA, CBSA, or a county. And you can see this will sort of auto update depending on whatever breakdowns you have here. But see, there we go. We're looking at the CBSAs. So we'll come back to the market in just a second. But as I mentioned a little earlier, before we actually jumped into our scenario, excuse me, one of the really cool features about this that I really appreciate is that we have the ability to map out any of those 8,000 plus audiences that we can utilize in the rest of the Insights suite. And you can see here, they're broken out into 3 categories, just like they are really any other time that you're selecting audience or population. It's usually set up in this same exact format. So in this category, we have population, which is, you know, somewhat in line with the census data and also in line with our legacy data to some degree. But then we have things, you know, just sort of some standard demographic things here. But then we have things like, you know, behaviors in the household, like commute, employment, household profiles. We have things like children in the home, rent amounts, mortgage amounts, things like that. So there's a bit of an expanded view here when you're looking in the population category, just sort of beyond just census or our legacy data. There's kind of a little bit more here as well. Moving over here to the consumer profiles, this makes up a large majority of those 8,000 plus audiences that are in the Insights suite. And so you can see we've got a bunch of different subcategories here. And if you're familiar with the suite, I'm sure you've seen this before. And we'll come back to this when we do our actual example. And then finally, the third category here is Prism Premier. And Prism Premier is Claritas's segmentation product. All of this audience data that we utilize in the Insights suite and in the Insights data is all through our partners at Claritas. And because of that partnership, we have the ability to utilize the Prism Premier segments here. And what these are, just sort of for a brief overview, the Prism Premier segments are just a way that Claritas breaks out every household in the US. And so they split everyone into these 68 different segments. And they're kind of socioeconomically similar. So, you know, income, demographics, stuff like that. So they're all kind of grouped together similarly by either location or characteristics of things that they do. So these are really helpful to have as well. And like I said, we can use any of these to make audience maps the same way we can use any of these to derive some audience insights when looking at inventory. So yeah, we'll come back to that in just a second. There's some other tabs here that we can use to filter. So we can filter by location, similar to how we can in the other view of the Explore module. And then you can also save geography sets. So say you make a map that you have that you want to save for later. You can see I have Utah by county as one of my saved geography sets. And so this is just, if I remember it, this is just the whole state of Utah broken out by counties on the map. And I'll show, how to make some custom geography sets and everything like that. We're going to be using this layers and display options tab a decent amount today, actually, in our scenario. And this is just a really cool way to be able to add custom layers to your map based on things that you've either saved from either the Places library, or it could be inventory that you've saved to your account. You can see here we've got inventory sets, place sets, all these different addable layers that I can put on my map here. And then I can customize and reorder them and color code and things like that. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but I just want to kind of give a little overview of the population module, or sorry, population library. And then the actions tab, we have a print view tab, or print view action. So yeah, let's just get into a bit of a scenario here. Let's start with the scenario that we have prepared for today. So I was taking a look in the Denver DMA, actually. I realized we haven't done a scenario or anything sort of in that area in a little while, and I figured that would be a good market to utilize. And I've been noticing a lot of advertisements and campaigns and things like that, really centered on getting people sort of outside to do sort of outdoor activities, safely do things with their families, or go camping, hiking, things like that. So I figured, let's take a look in the Denver market for this, and maybe let's say this is a camping campaign. There's a company called Camping World that say they approached me for this, just this made up scenario, but say Camping World wants to get a campaign and get some people to actually go out and go camping, maybe buy some new equipment, or at least just get out there and get camping. So that's kind of the overall scenario that we're going to be working with today, just for a little bit of an overview there. Before we do anything here with our scenario in the population library, I'm going to switch over to the Places library and start here, because I know that Camping World has two locations in the, I think maybe three locations in the Denver market that I was taking a look at. And so I just wanted to show, if you have maybe a few client locations or a few client stores or something like that, that you want to save and include on your maps, this is how you would go about doing that. So when you go into the Places library, you start with a national search here. So I'm going to search Camping World. Okay, let's see. And so let me just minimize this for a second. Like I said, it does a national search at first. And what it really does is it kind of brings up anything that's even at all related to your search. So if you were to search Camping World, like we did, it might bring up other things that are kind of just camping, like New World Camping, Camping Sea, Camping World. It's kind of a different way to put that, but it looks like this is the one that we want, this Camping World right here. So if I click on the actual name in that list here, it now brings me to this full list of all of the different locations that it found. But again, I only want to look in the Denver market. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to net this down a little bit further. So let me move over so we can actually see where my market is. There we go. So we'll just kind of place it here so we can, okay, let's just do that. So I'm going to go back over to this section, this white section of the search here. And you can see we've got this little drop down, more location tools, and also these different filters here. So if I wanted to, I could filter by a specific brand. So Camping World, I could filter for that brand and it would bring me to this client that I'm actually looking for. But you can also do by, industry, place types. I think these are all going to be pretty similar since we searched Camping World. They'll all probably be within the same sort of realm as each other. But let's go with Denver in this search markets box here. We'll do the Denver DMA. I think I'm going to do CBSA for my scenario, but let's just do the DMA for this search, just so we can include everything. So here you can see this yellow marker is sort of the outline of the whole DMA. It looks like we've got four locations here related to Camping World. And I just want to take one last look at my search results before I save these or go forward with these. Okay, so one of these is a Camping World RV center. So I don't really want that one, but let's take a look. Which one is that? So if I uncheck this, we can actually, okay, so it was this one closest to sort of downtown Denver. So these are the three Camping World locations that I want to save. And again, if I click into this, if I click the name itself, I can see this sort of street addresses and where they are. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save these using this the floppy disk save icon down here. And you can either save it to a new place set, which I'll do right now, or you can add to an existing place set. So say there's, maybe I was working on a different sort of camping competitor, or maybe just some other scenario where I had a handful of places, and then I found a few other ones I wanted to add to that same set. I could just use this add places to another set here and combine two different results or two different searches basically. So save as a new place set. We'll do that. We'll call this Camping World Denver. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to do in the places library. I'm all set here. And so to switch out of here, I just click on this sort of floating purple button here, and this allows me to switch between these different libraries. So let's go back to the population library now.
Hey, Brian, we had a quick question before you hop into the population library. Could you just go to the inventory library and show how you can filter for street furniture?
Yeah, sure. So I think I mentioned this a little while ago, but sort of the default view of the Explore module is the inventory library. And if you've been in here sort of before this was added, you'll have seen this in the past, not necessarily under this name, but if you're ever just trying to get back to this view sort of the US here with all the inventory, you can either use this button to get back to inventory library, or if you just click the Explore module on the menu bar here, it'll bring you back to this view. So just kind of as an aside, that's a little feature there. But so to do anything regarding filtering your inventory, I guess not anything, but for most things regarding filtering inventory, the filter inventory tab has a set of different filters in here that can help you get to different levels of specificity, I guess. But so AJ, it was street furniture you said?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would do, the media and placement type up here, there's a lot of sort of subcategories within this, and these bottom three here are for place-based or in-venue. So for roadside, we're just kind of looking at this top group here. And these are just a handful of different filters that you can use to get to your media type. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. This structure type filter here, as you can see as I sort of hover over this, it basically gives you an understanding of like what kind of structure is the add-on. So for a bulletin or a poster, that would be like a freestanding structure because it exists sort of solely for the purpose of being the board itself. But the furniture, for example, the frame might be on an existing bus shelter or a bench or something like that. So one way you could do that would be going by structure type and just sort of the physical attribute of the structure itself. You could also do sort of media type, but I've found that a lot of times people seem to like this operator media name one because this has some of the more sort of colloquial names that people use a little bit more often. So street furniture, we have things like transit shelters, we have things like benches. So if you wanted to get a little specific like that, you could do it that way. But I would say probably structure type is probably the best way to overall get all of the types of street furniture. And then more specifically, you could use the operator media name and from there pick some specific ones like transit shelter, bench, things like that.
While we have you in the inventory library, could you just dive into combining audiences a bit, such as adults 25 to 54 with children in the household?
Sure, yeah. So there is some limitation to what you're able to combine audience-wise right now. And the way that it's kind of set up is the combinable audiences will basically get you in line with what we were able to pull in our legacy system. So that's kind of the extent of the combinable audiences right now. But the way that Claritas's data is sourced, we have the ability and are eventually working towards being able to combine and cross-tab any of the audiences that we have here. But for right now, it's pretty limited to just this population category. And so you see, if we go into demographics and then age, let's see, 25 to 54. So if we pick, you can see the one that I've picked is in this box here now. And the available audiences that I can combine this with will show up as these drop downs above it. So you can see I've got, I think it was household profile. Okay, so I don't think you can combine those two, but I could combine, persons of this age range and then, any of these household income variables or, employment, ethnicity, race, gender. So there are some limitations and you'll kind of see that as you go and you add something and try to combine it with something else. It'll kind of work you into I guess if you can't combine something with something else, you'll know by the time you get to this screen. It won't give it as an option. So whatever you do select from this population category, and then you get to this page, whatever it has above here is what you can combine.
And as a segue into the population library, you can cross-tab audiences in the population library, correct?
I'm not sure. I believe you can do to this degree. I'm not sure if you can beyond that. If you can, I'm not sure. I haven't tried that. It's a good question. Yeah, we can see that at the end.
I think Brian, just to jump in, I think what AJ is saying is like you can combine the same way you can combine in the Inventory Explorer, you can combine in the population mapping.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Okay. So yeah, and again, if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to reach out like that. That we can just take pauses every so often if there are questions. So, so now we're back in the population library, and I'm gonna actually sort of start going with the scenario here. We went and we saved our places. We saved those Camping World locations. But what I want to do is let's go to the Define Population tab and let's set up my market. So I found that the way that I like to do this, I think that this works pretty well, is if you actually go by county, and this is just sort of a tip. You don't need to do it this way, but I think this is kind of a helpful way to do this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a look at the entire state of Colorado by county, because I want to sort of use this to get a sense of my audience, which I haven't even started with yet. I haven't picked my audience yet. But so when you are in the count, when you have your county selection up, and this is a tip that you can use in both the regular view of the Explorer and both in the inventory view and this view here. But if you are trying to search for a market, say you wanted to look at all of the counties in Colorado, for example, you can just search the state abbreviation and then a comma, and it'll bring up all of the counties, or I guess CBSAs that would be associated if you tried that. But so what I'm going to do to add the entire state, I'm just going to hit add all, and this will now select all of the ones that I have that meet my sort of Colorado filter up here. And I'll just hit apply, and you see, okay, so we can see, I think there's something like 60 counties in Colorado. Okay, so they're all sort of the same level of purple, 100% composition. And that's because we're looking at total population still. So we're looking at still everyone. But let's get more specific in the Define Population tab. So we've already assigned a market. We're good with that. Let's go to Select Population. And when I was sort of preparing for this and looking through, I found some kind of interesting audiences, two different ones that I'll use a little bit here. So there's one, those who've been camping in the last 12 months. So I'll just search camping. And there were a decent amount of things that came up for camping, but oh no, I think camp was, so this is the one that I'm looking for. So activity in the past 12 months, camping. So this will kind of just give me a good understanding. Oh, zoom me out, that's okay. Apply, there we go. So yeah, this will give me a sense sort of at the state level, which counties and which areas might be, either good to focus on, or maybe, good to focus on because there's a lot of campers, or maybe good to focus on because there's some opportunity here. So if you remember when we were over in the population library, I saved those Camping World locations, and I can actually just add those to this map right now, just to sort of get an understanding of, like, how did they play out with this whole state here. So let me see, Camping World Denver. Okay, so I've added it to my I added it to my selected layers over here on the right-hand side. And you can see now if I click this sort of icon here, I can now go and change the color, the icon. I can make it, here, I'll make it like a square. We'll make it kind of a sort of a yellowy color, so it kind of contrasts the purple. Okay, so let's just hit apply view, and this will map out those three, I think it was 3 locations. Yep, there we go. So 3 Camping World locations. So it's kind of interesting, actually. I would have expected these areas sort of right around Denver. I'm kind of surprised that there's not so much, for what counties are these? I think this one was Adams County. Oh, just 1 second. So it's taking a second to think. But there's a couple different ways that you could then approach this once you have sort of a map like this, or, just to sort of start. Because at this point, I haven't really gone in and selected any inventory that might help me reach my audience, or really anything else other than, looking at the actual locations of the the stores and figuring out where the campers sort of in the immediate area might live. But now we can go and try to find some different like inventory sets and different groups of inventory that might help us reach these audiences. Before we do that, I want to take a look. There was a second audience that I was taking a look at when I was preparing for this as well. Let me get rid of the camping here and I think just outdoor is what brought it up. But there are a few different audiences in the Insights Suite, particularly for quick service restaurants. We have a few different quintiles, but then also for outdoor activities, we have some quintiles. So those who are in the heaviest quintile of doing things outdoors or in the lightest. So one of the other audiences that I was considering for this was this heavy outdoor activity quintile, because I was just kind of curious. I wanted to see, we have this sort of full spectrum of activity amounts, and I was just kind of curious, where do the heavily outdoorsy people live in the area? And maybe this will help affect some of our decision making going forward as well. Yeah, so it's really interesting. This is kind of exactly what I thought. So this county here, Adams County, and then I think this one is Arapahoe County, but I think, yeah, they're not hovering over like they should. But for both of these different audiences, these two yeah, there we go, Adams County and Arapahoe County. So each of these counties were kind of low, just kind of considering the immediate proximity of other outdoorsy camper sort of lifestyle people. I just thought it was kind of interesting. So maybe those will be the two counties that I sort of focus on. Maybe there's some opportunity there. There's lots of campers sort of in the immediate area, so why not here? So that was kind of my thinking as I was going through and setting up for this. So now let's take a look at some actual inventory. Let's kind of put this to inventory specifically and then see where that brings us. And again, if there are any questions sort of along the way, please, send them in and we can take breaks here or there. And this Camping World layer, I could leave this on, it's still here, but I'm just going to remove it for right now. Just hit apply view. Yep, there we go. So here we're looking at the full US. And again, this is the inventory library view of the Explore module. So this is kind of the standard Explore module view. So what I want to do here now, let's get this sort of more in line with what I was just doing in the other parts of the module. So let's set this up to have the same things. So select audience, go consumer profiles. I'm going to start with that camping audience, and then we can do the outdoor quintile one second. So activities passed. Okay. Let's apply that. And so you'll see now that I've applied this, once this loads up, you'll see these metrics are going to be a little bit different because we'll have my total impressions here, which again is from everyone person 0+. Total in market impressions. I haven't set a market yet, so this will still be, these two numbers will be the same since my full market is still the whole US here. I just hit apply again. And then our target in market will be representative of this now. Here we go. So you can see this. Oh, there we go. So our target impressions are 13 billion weekly impressions against those who have gone camping in the last 12 months. But again, this is full US, all inventory. We haven't netted this down any further than that yet. So assign market, let's go in here. I could do the Denver CBSA, but I think I want to focus on those two counties. So let's take a look at those counties and see what we can find. Here we go. Adams and Arapahoe County. Okay. I'm going to add these two as a group. You could add these individually and then switch between them. But when you add them as a group, they sort of combine their sort of areas and metrics and things like that. So they'll be grouped together as one cohesive market versus, two. So you can see over here, actually, it's a little grayed out, but it says combined markets. But if I were to add those two individually, this is actually a dropdown where I could use to switch between those two different markets or many markets. It could be a handful of different markets, not just two. Here we go. It's taking a second. There we go. Oh, I think it's previewing something I was doing earlier. There we go. So let me just close this. There's one other option in this define target tab that I could use down here, the schedule delivery. If I wanted to switch the sort of number of weeks that I was running my campaign for or something like that, I could do that here, but I'm just going to leave this at 1 just for sort of simplicity. And let's zoom in, take a look at the actual market. So remember, we're just looking at these 2 different counties. So there might be, there will be kind of a gap in space because it looked like sort of central Denver was in a bit of a different county than these 2, but let's see, we'll get a sense. Here we go. Starting to come in. Okay, so here, I'm gonna actually open up this, the map key here so we can take a look at this, some of the different kinds of inventory that we have showing here. Yeah, and like I said, you can see there's kind of a gap in inventory right here because that part of this county sort of jutted out like this. But we're looking at Adams County, which was kind of up here, and then Arapahoe County was down here, it looked like. So there's a good amount of things here. I don't know if I'm going to use all of these inventory types. I don't think I want all of these for my scenario. So let's get a little bit more specific with the inventory itself. So in the filter inventory tab, as I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, so let's go to the media and placement type. I'm not going to look at any one particular operator. I'm kind of just I'm just looking for audience and media type right now. So we're going to go to, let's do operator media name. And for this one, I wanted to do transit shelters, but I wanted to also do bulletins because I think that might give me an interesting mix of the market or help me reach an interesting mix, sort of people sort of locally walking around or sort of, you know, smaller roads and then maybe some freeways or things like that. So I think this might give me an interesting mix as I approach this market. Okay. All right, there we go. So you can see on the map and also in my map key here, we're just looking at bulletins and street furniture now. Let me close that. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to do filtering wise? I guess not. I think this is probably okay for right now. So we've got, let me just close this so we can sort of summarize what we've done so far. So this is always a good tip. If you're ever in the Explore module here and you're not quite sure what's currently in your filter or what you currently have applied or anything like that, there are these sort of floating little button things down here, these sort of pills that just give you an overview of what you have. So we've got my delivery 1 week, activities past 12 months, camping as my audience, here's my market, these 2 counties, and then I've got transit shelters and bulletins. So what I might want to do now is actually go over here to the right-hand menu here. And you can see we've got about 900 different spots in this filter. That's still a lot. That's still a lot for sort of my working scenario here. So what I can do now, and this is something that I like to use a lot because this kind of just gives you a good idea of context of the whole market, or at least in my head it does. But I'm going to use this sort by dropdown here. And you can see this defaults to target composition percentage. But I'm going to use this sort by dropdown and then the select dropdown right here to choose, let's say, the top 25 for target composition percentage and those who like camping, or those who've been camping in the last 12 months. Sorry. So, and just sort of as an aside really quick, the target composition percentage generally is, we generally explain that one as the units most efficient at reaching this audience. So you can see it's kind of an interesting spread here, sort of all along this interstate, but then there's a couple transit shelters up sort of northeast up here. So maybe this is an interesting set to save. You know, maybe this is not where I end up, but maybe this is a good starting place. So what I can do is in this right-hand menu here, save as, saves new inventory set, and then I can just save this to my account as basically as a mappable layer and also as something that's easier to run reports on once it's saved to an inventory set. So there's kind of a couple benefits to saving inventory sets like this, but we'll call this Campers Denver. And you can name things whatever, oops, I gotta spell it right though. You can name things whatever you want. These are really for your own sort of, your own record keeping, your own finding within your account here. So we'll save that. But I'm kind of curious. I want to take a look at a different metric, not necessarily composition percentage, but maybe I don't know, maybe target impressions or something. Maybe we want to get a good amount of target impressions against campers. Like maybe that's our focus for this. So let's try an inventory set that's like that instead. And I think maybe I'll save 2 or 3 inventory sets just so we can compare and kind of get a sense of a few different scenarios all at once. So once this loads up, I'll also take a look at the top 25 for this one as well. Okay, it's coming back in. Okay, so we got target impressions as our sort by. So now it just resorted all of these 916 units against the target impression. So you can see, and this is a tip I've gotten this question a couple times, and I always kind of forget to mention this, but the little sort of teal number that shows on the right-hand side, you can see they're all a little bit different. That's always reflective of whatever your sort by metric is. So back when it was composition percentage, this was, maybe it was like 20% or 30%, and then decreasing from there. So that number there in the teal is always representative of your sort by metric up here. So now let's select the top 25 against target composition, or target impressions, sorry. And let's take a look, because I wonder, I'm just kind of curious, if different metrics and different sort of quantifiers like this will help us get different, yeah, that's actually interesting. Okay, so a lot more sort of central to the sort of downtown area, and down here as well. So that's definitely a different inventory set. So the first one I saved for target composition percentage, it was all kind of along this highway here and then some up here. But yeah, this is totally different. So let me save this so I can compare the two as well. So save new inventory set. Campers Denver. Oops. Okay, there we go. Save and keep exploring. So once this is all saved up, I want to go switch over to that different audience that I was considering, that top quintile for outdoor activities, because I think that one might also, maybe approaching that one a little bit of a different way too, might give us some sort of different reach to this market. So let's go over here to the Define Target tab and then select audience. And I always like to make mention of this as well. If you have your inventory all selected, you can see we've got 916 total in this filter, sort of minus this top 25 selection. But once you have an inventory filter going on like this, it's usually really easy to just kind of swap out audiences. So deselect that one, might have to clear it. But yeah, once you have your sort of filtering and your markets and all that set up, it's pretty easy to just kind of quickly switch between audiences. There's not much else you have to do other than actually switch the audience. Everything else should just sort of recalculate on its own after that. Okay, so let's find that audience. Outdoor. Okay, here we go. Quintile 1 heavy. So let's do that. We're going to hit apply. Okay, and you can see it's already, it's kind of hard to see over here, but it's already switched out what our audience was, and it's now recalculating that. And again, that also updated down here on these sort of floating buttons as well. So it looks like that's worked. Close this. And then I'm going to, just sort of calling back to what we just did. I looked at the target composition percentage for one of those sets that I saved, then target impressions for this one, or for the other set. But now I'm looking at a totally different audience. So maybe I want to approach it a different way. Maybe I want to, I was taking a look through here while I was preparing. And maybe, target reach is something. Maybe that's, I want to, reach I want the top 25 boards for reaching this audience. So maybe that's how I go about this one. And again, these are all just kind of examples of a lot of different workflows and sort of thought process that might go into this kind of thing. But, I just think it's really interesting, the different stories and different sort of, just different stories that this can tell just by different inventory sets and different audiences and things like that. So, okay, so let's see. So this is, again, now that I've switched over to target reach, this is going to be resorting all of these for target reach. And again, when this all comes up over on the right-hand side, that teal metric right here, so you can see 14.41. So you can just see the reach percent, how much of that how much of that market is of that audience is this reaching. So, so let's take a look. I've got target reach. Let's do, again, top 25. Let's take a look. Just want to see if this gives us, a different kind of layout than the other two as well, sort of spread across the city. Just because, it might be an interesting story to tell, or it might be a different thing to evaluate. Oh, that's interesting too. Yeah, so we've got a couple down here. I thought I saw one up here too. Yeah, different clumping than the other ones as well. So you know what? Let me save this as an inventory set because I want to take a look at all three of these together. So let's see. Okay, so I've got that. Save and keep exploring. Okay, all right. So this is pretty much the extent to this point of what I wanted to do in this part of the Explore module. So let me switch back over to the population library now, and let's bring all of this together, because we went and we set up our audiences. We took a look at our different audiences. We've mapped out, or we saved the place sets themselves, and we have all these different inventory sets. But now we can actually bring this together into a map that we can fully customize really however we want. And then, use this for presentations, things like that. So here, I'll minimize that. Bring this over here so we can see. So let's start with our place set. So we have those, scroll down. Here we go, Denver Camping World. I forgot what I had called it. Okay. So Denver Camping World. So I don't want it to be purple because it'll just kind of blend in. So let's make it again, kind of a yellowy color so it stands out. And I'm going to leave this as sort of this little place sort of location icon. So let's go find my different inventory sets. So you can see I've got a lot of them saved in my account, but so Denver Camping, and then I think I had another one that was outdoors, Denver. Here we go. So these are my three different inventory sets. You can see they all default to purple circles, but I can change those by clicking it. I can make it, I can make them triangles. I can make each of them different. So let's make them all different colors. So I'll make kind of a darker green. Let's make this kind of a bluish. And then we can make this kind of like a reddish, pinkish color. And again, I could change any of these colors that I want. If I wanted to say, maybe I want this outdoor audience over top this Denver camping audience, I can just kind of drag them around like this and rearrange them however I want to. So now that I've got this all set up, all I need to do is just hit apply view, and it will usually one by one, but sometimes you'll see them all sort of pop in at once. But you'll see, so there we go. We've got our places coming in. Let's get a little closer, since it was just these two counties anyway. So we've got our places coming in. And then these place sets should just, or sorry, these inventory sets are going to pop in as well. And I'm curious now that we have all three of these saved and, you know, they're going to be each different colors. I think it'll be just interesting to see, you know, yeah, there we go. Let's take a look. Let me close this. So yeah, you can see this green set, I think, was the target composition percentage for campers. I think this red set, no, this blue set was for target impressions for campers, and then this reddish set was for those who like being, or those who are in the heaviest quintile of outdoor activity. Yeah, and so you can really do this with as many inventory sets as you want. Different, you know, say I wanted to, in the layers and display options tab up here, there's some other things I could add as well. Say I wanted to, in specific geography, say I wanted to have the outline of the city of Denver or of the CBSA or something, I could search Denver here. I'll do it really quick. Denver, let's do the city, Denver, Colorado. Let's just do the city and we'll make it a lot of colors. Let's see, make it something orange maybe. Like a light orange, apply view. And so then it will just overlay basically, yeah, there we go. So you can see it overlays kind of the outline of the place that you selected. So in this case, it was just the city of Denver. But that's another layer you can add if you wanted to add some more pop to that. But you can also, you know, you can do audience delivery for a single unit and sort of get the sense of that kind of thing. So there's just a lot of different things that you can add as layers to your map. But also in display options over here, there's some additional, really great additional options that you can use to customize this map even further. So say you wanted like a dark base map or something, or you wanted something that was super minimal and gray, you could do that. We have a Valentine's Day one from February in here, which is kind of a fun little thing. So yeah, you can get really specific with that. You can add a custom logo over top. So say you wanted to drop your company logo in here, you can do that. And then, you know, maybe some custom text, just kind of explaining what this is, what this map is showing. All these are different things that you can add and then have as different sort of movable parts for your map here. And then you can just go actions and then print view, and this will print to a PDF, and then you can use that in presentations or really whatever you need to. Scott, AJ, do we have any other questions that came in? I think that's just about where I was going with this scenario. So just kind of wanted to end on this map here.
Yeah, we actually had one quick question about political audiences that we have available. Dive into those real quick.
Yeah, sure. Here, let me head over to the, switch back over to the inventory. Actually, no, I don't even need to do that. Never mind. I didn't even listen to my own advice. This is exactly the same as it is in that view. Yeah, so in consumer profiles, I think there's even a category for political, if I'm not mistaken, or political affiliation. Maybe there's not. Let me just search.
It's at the very bottom.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I must not have scrolled down to it. Yeah. Okay, hold on. One sec.
I think it's searching. Yeah.
Oh, voting. Yep, there we go. So how often do you usually vote in local elections, presidential elections, statewide, party affiliation, sort of leaning, register to vote. So this is kind of the extent of these, but yeah, there's some really good ones here and sort of varying degrees too. Always, never, which is nice sometimes. Yeah, so there's kind of a nice varying scale there as well.
Right. I also think, Brian, Scott jumping in, like as you look at the bottom one, party affiliation, independent, but feel closer to Democrat, and then the opposite of that, Republican. I think those are two valuable audiences that you know, we get asked about and have created maps for people when they've asked on that. So some really interesting political audiences.
Definitely.
Well, we know it's political season, and a lot of that RFPs, we're starting to hear RFPs around political campaigns are starting to come out. So hopefully this will really help everybody target even more than before this you know, voting season.
Yeah, definitely. I think these will probably get a good amount of work in the next couple of months. Yeah, were there any other questions we had? And you know what? There's still. I can actually switch back over. Let me switch back over to the presentation because there was a couple other points I wanted to
you know,
address.
just as you're doing that, there was a couple of questions that we tried to answer, you know, directly with people. But you know, a question about the transit inventory and when that's going to be in the system. And just want everybody to know that we are working towards that. We're working with our Insights Committee to actually get that all set and into the Insights Suite. So that should be happening over the next couple of weeks, fingers crossed with everything, so that should be coming very soon. I know people are eager to see that information. And then there's a question about, to some extent, about sources and survey size. So our demographic data, we partner with, it's sourced from Claritas, so they're sourcing GFK MRI, and a host of other Scarborough and a host of other data sources. So, there are significant data sizes here. And if you do have more specific questions, please reach out to us on that to geekout@geopath.org. And Brian will show that email address at the end of the session, I believe, anyway. So, and that's a great place if anybody has a question that they think of after the session or that we weren't able to get to or something like that, you can always reach out to us there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's right at the end too.
Yep.
Yeah, and this just a couple other things I wanted to talk about before we sort of wrapped up. Throughout the course of this year, we've introduced 2 new data solutions related to COVID-19 data, or sort of around COVID-19. So we've got the daily mobility dashboard, which is basically just sort of, it shows the sort of trends of movement of people throughout CBSAs and states over the past, I think it goes back to January or end of December of 2019. So going from end of last year until basically now, I think there's maybe about a week or so delay there. But this just kind of shows movement trends and how much people are driving and how many miles per day people are actually moving around. And then the other one is the impression variation dashboard, sort of, ties in with that as well. As, people are moving around a little bit less and as, changes in movement have been happening, the impression variation dashboard is a good way to sort of get an understanding of how much impressions may have changed either by, by geography and market within sort of ranges. So it's not any individual units. It's just kind of this media type in this market has gone down about, 10% in this month, or from what it would have been. So, and here's there's a little snippet of what the daily mobility dashboard looks like. And then a little bit about they're built very similarly. Both of these can be accessed from within the Insights suite. And also really quick, the daily mobility dashboard can be accessed outside the Insights suite as well. You can find a link for that on our website. And then some additional sort of materials that we have prepared sort of related to how to use these 2 different dashboards. So these are all available also on the website. We have on our YouTube channel, and I think it's linked somewhere on the website, we have a a tutorial video on how to use the impression variation dashboard. And then finally, we just have, I just kind of threw together some screenshots here. We have in our newsletter and through our Geek Out library, even more available data. So, top 100 DMAs based on, daily travel, DMAs or top 10 spenders in out of home by DMA. We've got some other things, just sort of different pieces and different useful things that we have that people can hopefully utilize and, hopefully make things a little bit easier. Again, these are all, you can find these either in our newsletter or in our Geek Out library. And if you're not signed up for a newsletter and you want to be, you can just email us at Geek Out, and I'll show that email in just a second. And then finally, on the Geek Out page of our website, geopath.org, you can find all of our past out-of-home office hours sessions. So you can see right there in the top left, that's that really great agency panel that I was talking about from last week. And then just a couple, just right next to that, we co-hosted with the OAAA a virtual independent operators seminar, which was great. A lot of great content in there. So that's up there as well as all of our other past, just before that, last month, we did an independent operators panel, sort of the flip side of what we did last week, the agency view versus the operator view. So those are both up there, both addressing how to sort of navigate COVID and moving forward. So if anybody wants to take a look at those. And again, if you ever need anything, or if you have a question, you don't know who can help you, or you don't know who to ask, geekout@geopath.org is the perfect place to do that. And again, if I said earlier, if you are not on our newsletter and you'd like to be, you can ask us here as well, and we'll get you signed up for that.
Hey, Brian, Just before we jump off, I just want to bring up a couple quick points.
Yep.
There's one question I didn't get to, and I think it's related to the population mapping. You don't have to jump back there. I can handle it here. It says, can we export the data into a report, and will we be able to run zip code levels in the future? And the answer to the first part is being able to export that. And again, forgive me if I'm misunderstanding the question. And feel free to reach out to us at Geek Out. But in terms of exporting the data in the population mapping area, no, you can't export that into a report and likely won't be able to just because of our licensing agreements. But the zip code level, that is something we are definitely working towards in the future because we know that will be extremely valuable for our members. So that is something down the line. I don't have an exact date on that yet, but we definitely know that's a valuable mapping capability, especially for the population mapping. And then I just want to let everybody know, I know you covered some of the reports that we have coming out, and I know typically we send out a report on Thursdays with some updates. That is coming out in the next couple of hours. So apologies, that's a little bit delayed today, this week, but it will be sent out shortly.
All right, yeah, great. And if there are any other questions, like Scott mentioned, and we didn't get a chance to get to them, you can send them to this email, geekout@geopath.org, and we can help answer your questions, whatever they are there. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. And I hope everybody has a great day, great weekend. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please let us know.
Great, thank you everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.